Here we are, another episode.
The Bayville Bridge is closed.
I didn't even
Turns out for like
anything.
It looks like 3 more months, which everybody's freaking out about.
Yeah.
So I got to come the back way. I'm like, holy Christmas! My GPS says I'm not going to get there till 3:05, and I'm always on time.
Jackie.
And here we are, starting at the crack of 4:45.
Now, Jackie.
So I feel like, why did I almost get a speeding ticket to get here?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Show them your little bandana and then, your little Band-Aid, and then we'll start. Show 'em.
All right.
Show me your Band-Aid.
I'm wearing a wrist bracelet to acknowledge my high school class. I just had my
I thought that meant
50th
you were banging a girl in Vietnam.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode.
Okay, pretend that's the beginning.
It's Stand-Up Memories, another episode, and we have a terrific guest, by the way.
Stop. I'm not that special.
We have, along with Jackie the Joke Man Martling, I'm Peter Bales. We
A
have
little feisty today.
I like it.
A little feisty.
Chris Roach.
like
Chris
it.
Roach is a terrific stand-up.
Not to be confused with,
Chris Rush,
Rush.
which was accidentally written on the slate.
who's a
Clapper.
2'6" Jewish comedian
This is
who
Chris
was very funny.
Roach. And you said you had a funny story about Chris
Well,
Rush?
I was probably 2 years in stand-up, and John Ryerson from McGuire's called me, McGuire's Comedy Club, and he asked me if I wanted to work that like 2 weekends from then for like $450, and I'm just starting out emceeing. I'm like, oh my God! I'm starting out. I'm like, of course, yes. I'm like,
And you're thinking, words out, I'm good.
Words out, I'm good. $450, it's better than the $50 a show. And I'm sitting there blown away, like, wow, I guess something must be happening here. And all of a sudden, he called me back. 30 seconds later, he goes, Chris. Yes. He goes, is this Chris Rush or Chris Roach? I said, it's Chris Roach. He goes, never mind. Click.
Did it go through your mind, like, is it my duty to correct him?
I'm
You
new,
know
so
what I mean?
I was afraid to.
You're torn, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, that couldn't have felt too good.
Oh, well,
But I mean, you were ahead of the game, man. You were doing great still.
yeah, but it was an honor to be confused with Chris Rush.
Well, you are Chris Roach.
I came off stage at the East Side, and Rush came up to me and said, a Nazi telling Jew jokes, and I thoroughly enjoyed you. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. He was so cool.
Chris Rush was a legendary comedian who really broke a lot of barriers back in the day, in the 70s.
Yeah, his album came out almost concurrent with Child of the 50s.
Child of the 50s. It
by
was
Robert
first
Klein.
Rush, and he was quite amazing. The late, sorry to say, Chris Rush.
But we're here to discuss
But
Chris
we're here
Roach.
to discuss Chris Roach, who, by the way,
Cover that.
I hate
Cover that.
I hate to mention
Then
this over and over again, but my comedy school, Stand Up University, that you can find at standupuniversity.com.
I gotta learn how to fake a yawn.
We start new comedians on their
Yeah,
path,
yeah.
and we take pride in Chris Roach, who started really at our comedy school and has gone on to so much success. How many times did you take our class?
6 times in a row, I think it was.
He did, and he showed up very serious, worked out his material, and now nothing is stopping him.
You're doing great in spite of him.
It
Well,
was,
6 times in a row.
Yeah, well, I
Did he get a discount?
Yeah.
No?
No,
I don't think I did.
No, I don't think
Do
you
you
did.
mean like you took the class and did that final show and then
Yep.
took end on
And then
end?
signed up for the next one.
Were you looking for broads?
That, and I was 30 years old at the time, so that, but also I love being in that environment with other comedians, and it was something that was like this aha moment, like this is what I was meant to do.
Now, when you started out in
no,
comedy,
no jokes. It really is a special thing. You know?
Yeah.
Even starting out,
Yes.
people just sharing that head.
I never looked back. Like I was just taking the class because I was working on this public speaking fear, and I just got hooked. That first show.
There's no crush on Bales or any of that.
No, well, he had a beautiful part.
Right.
It was much
This is
more
before
tight.
the hair turned.
Now,
It was
Chris,
much tighter back then.
Chris, what were you doing to support yourself for a living at the time that you started out in comedy?
I was managing adult stores.
And you never met Jackie before that?
No.
Adult stores meaning bookstores or pornography stores or rub and tugs or
Adult entertainment stores. So what it was called Expressions. So when you walked in, the front of the store was like Victoria's Secret, the middle Spencer Gifts, and the back was, anything you wanted was back there. And we
did they have like pot paraphernalia too?
No, only now they started doing that.
Right.
That's
more recent.
The head shops were doing that back then, But for what it was tastefully done, and I did that for 15 years.
How did you stumble into that job?
A friend of
What
mine.
What was your major?
Well, he was a regular customer,
Well,
and
it was
they
something
offered.
I always wanted to do, and no, it was a friend of mine had opened the store, and he was my older brother's friend. He knew I was looking for a job, and I went in there. And I remember my mother dropped me off there.
Did she know where she was dropping you?
Yeah, and she's like, "Why don't you get a job your son can be proud of?" I'm like, "I think I might have here,
Now, I have never met anybody that worked. How many? There aren't that many of those stores, especially 10 years ago. How long?
Yeah,
20 years ago?
This is I started like 20 years ago, even longer than that. Wow.
Is this in Suffolk?
Suffolk and Nassau? At one time, I think we had 6 stores.
All the same name, like a
Same
chain?
name, a chain of stores.
What
all
was it?
Expressions with an X.
Expressions.
Did anybody you knew ever come into the store when you were working there, like a teacher, like a?
Yeah.
Was that embarrassing?
It was embarrassing. Sometimes I'd see somebody from church or somebody, I think it was even more embarrassing when I saw people that were regulars. We had like a video rental club. When I saw people that were regulars, and all of a sudden I'd see them out in public with their wives, and they would get all squeamish, as if I was going to like blow their cover.
I love it.
I
You
know
know,
it-
said the Jews don't recognize Jesus and the Episcopalians don't recognize each other in the liquor store. That's
Exactly.
Great.
So,
a great old saying.
to the people, it's got to be so interesting. Like somebody's in there browsing, or do they interact? Like, hey, have you seen this one? Or
Yeah, I mean, at first we were like kind of just left them alone to do their thing, but then after a while, when the internet started taking over and sales started to go down, now the employees, we had them out on the floor pushing sales, trying to upsell and stuff like that. Oh, you bought a vibrator? You're going to need some lubricant,
it's like the old joke. That's the old joke.
Well, I got to tell you,
Do you know the old joke where the guy goes the guy gets a job in the store and the boss says, "Listen, you'd be a good salesman. You got to do related sales. Like if somebody comes in to buy grass seed, you say, well, you're eventually going to need a lawnmower." And then he gets the hang of it. So the guy comes in and says to the boss, "Do you have tampons?" And he says, "Charlie, take this guy." And the new guy takes him to buy tampons, and a few minutes later, the guy's leaving with tampons and a lawnmower. And he says, "What'd you do?" He said, "I said to the guy, hey, there's nothing going on in your house this weekend. You might as well mow the lawn."
that's a great joke.
But that's
Classic
so,
old joke.
Did you get to be friends with these?
Some of them, yeah, some of them were pretty friendly guys that came in, mostly men, come in and rent these videos. Then it switched over to DVD, I remember. Then soon after that, it was on the internet. But that was only a portion of the sales. Again, it was lingerie, it was all, shoes.
So women came in too.
Yes, women, dancers came in,
Couples?
couples came in, especially like on the weekends, couples came in.
That's cool.
And that was the whole idea, like we made everything bright and clean and try to,
That's nice.
What do they say?
Did you have gift certificates?
We had gift certificates. Sell to the woman, close to the man. I think that's what it was. So get the women to come in and have their men.
We're not doing a good job of helping him with his comedy career with this interview.
Well, I got to tell you something.
Okay.
I should
It is
tell our
so
audience.
fascinating, though.
That's all right.
I know.
And I'm not saying that. I mean,
It's interesting. But Chris, I don't know if you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, is 6'6", and you can tell he is a unique physical specimen.
Thank you.
And you've done,
what an odd thing to
he's done
say.
some cool commercials.
There you go. That's much better.
Give us a taste of
Well, let me take a sip out of your mug.
it.
It is now your mug. That's the way we
your
roll.
mug, and it says "Stand Up."
Oh, stand-up
Memories on it,
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks, guys. It's nice.
And if you want, you can draw your own picture on there
Wow.
too.
Two of you guys.
Now, your underwear commercial.
Underwear commercial.
Wait, did you do an underwear?
I know. I did a Optimum Cable commercial.
Oh, that's right. I always think it's underwear.
Wait, what kind of
Sorry.
what kind of a mistake is that?
Was it that joke I used to do? Where I
Did
used to
you
show my
sell
underwear?
dildos? Oh
Yeah,
no, it
maybe.
was McDonald's. You know,
Yes.
what kind of?
No, because you're going to hear something. You did an Optimum commercial, and
Yes.
you played.
A green pixel. It was a very popular campaign, and there was a pink guy. He's like, pink makes me look chubby, and we were like, no, but we all had different color pixels, and that thing ran to the point where I knew it was time for me. I said to my wife, I knew it was time for me to leave the adult stores when I was showing this woman a vibrator and all the different features. You press this button, it rotates this way. You press this button, it turns this piece on, it goes blah, 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 blah. And she's like half listening to me. And as she's looking at the vibrator, looking at me, she's like, are you the green pixel? I was like, yes, but let me show you how this works.
That is absolutely wonderful. What casting person looked at a 6'6" guy and said he would make a good pixel?
In green spandex. We all spandex outfits. And I remember they had
We
that-
all being different color pixels?
Yes, there was a pink, a green, a blue, and we were like the pixels in a television set. And they would zoom out, and all of a sudden you'd see whatever the people were watching.
We got to see this ad.
We do.
Have
We
you
have
ever
to see
seen
this
the ad?
I've seen the ad. It
Yeah.
was a classic.
It was on. It was in the papers. Kids were trick or treating that year as pixels.
Where'd you get underwear?
Because Fruit of the Loom had different colored
Color
fruit.
yes.
You were not a fruit.
No.
You can't say that.
Not as far as you know.
That's right.
You cannot say that.
But, I mean, you were.
Who was that? There was a famous comic that was the grapes.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Oh.
getting confused
Who was the
about.
comic that was the grapes?
The Fruit of the Loom grape. Do you guys remember that? He was
We'll
an
have to-
way older guy.
We'll do some research and get back to
All
you
right,
on
go
that.
ahead. I didn't mean
But
to-
you quickly established yourself as a comedian in a relatively short time for comedians.
Yeah.
And then, but
Did
the-
you bail from that to comedy, or was it a segue? Or
It was kind of where no, the sales just got so bad
Yeah.
that they
the
couldn't-
internet just destroyed it?
killed it. I mean, they're still open, but it's just it's the internet destroyed it. It destroyed the video sales.
And then you heard about Peter Bales Comedy Club.
But I was taking Peter Bales' course while I was still there.
Oh,
So
Right.
I was doing stand-up probably for about 5 or 6 years before I left there. And I never looked back.
But you met some cool people in
Yeah.
the Long Island comedy scene.
Oh, yes.
And one of those cool people did a nice thing for you on their television show.
Yes.
And that, of course, is, go ahead,
Kevin James.
Kevin
Yes.
James. Long
no, he
Island's
wasn't a customer at
No.
No.
Exophobia. What's it called?
Exophobia. Expressions.
Expressions.
Xenophobia.
But that show, 2 years, Kevin Can Wait, you played Mott.
Mott.
And talk about that experience. I mean, I'm sure you wish it lasted longer.
Oh, it was great. 2 years. It was so surreal too. Just
Did you blend in like your pixel experience to the role? Or?
The character was actually, when I read the breakdown, the description of the character was giant, long-suffering father of 7. I'm like, well, I'm 2 of those.
Giant and long suffering.
Close enough.
Yes, I'm
Close
2 of
enough.
those. So I was actually just playing myself. And I remember going up to Rock Rubin.
One of the writers and
one of the writers and
comedian
producers,
as
yeah.
well.
And I remember saying to him, I said, how am I doing? I said, do you want me to try to have more energy? He goes, no, you're doing great. So I would just be me, which is kind of a low energy guy. There were a few times they were like, we got to pick the energy up. I'm like, all right, yeah, have a cup of coffee.
That's great.
Now,
Surreal.
And that was taped right here, right?
Yeah,
On Long
Bethpage.
Island?
on Long Island, absolutely.
Gold Coast Studios in Bethpage. It was great. It was insane. I loved it.
And then that ends, and you're back to stand-up comedy now full time.
Yeah.
And you got to see his act. I
Like
mean, I'm
someday this TV show's gonna go away, and I'm back in Bales'
Yeah,
class.
Bell, his class. Class number 7.
but
No, we worked at. He actually was on the bill with me, but I never ever watched the other comics. So
Yeah, 'cause you
gotta
that's my
psych
bad.
yourself
Like
up.
at McVie's or what's
We
the
worked.
name?
We
McGuire's.
worked. McGuire's. I think we also worked at like Mohegan Sun in Connecticut once.
Is that right?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Now I gotta ask.
Brad Axelrod?
I think so, yes. Brad Axelrod.
God rest his soul.
Yeah.
You're always busy.
I don't think he's dead,
Is he
but
dead? I was gonna say-
no, I just wishful thinking.
But with
I'm kidding, Brad.
A
You know I'm
big guy like you, has got to go out for a lot of calls because they need that look.
I can't tell you how many calls I've gotten, and it's like always like big and fat, big and fat. I'm like, well, I'm big, and I was bigger, but you know, I was told to go out for the part, and even though you think you're not right for it, they may look at you and go, you know what, you're not right for this, but that, and that's kind of what happened to me when I went out.
Because you got nothing going for you being white and straight.
Right.
You got to be tall.
Well, he's 6'6" and he's a big guy.
No, that's a great type. You know about Sharippa, right?
Steve,
I used to work for Sharippa, Steve Sharippa, who was in. Now he's in Blue Bloods, but he was in The Sopranos.
Yeah.
And soon after I had worked there, he had got the gig on The Sopranos, and I saw him, and I called up his office, and I said to his assistant, Patricia Weber, I said, I was just there. How did Steve get that fat? And he's wearing a fat suit.
Yeah.
He just was such a big guy with such a bull neck that it absolutely was at home on him. I was fooled. I thought he was actually that fat.
Wait, on The Sopranos, he was wearing a fat suit?
He was wearing a fat suit.
I had no idea.
You got to go back and look, you know.
I didn't
And
know
you
that
can't tell.
Because he had a gut on that show, like.
He was huge.
You know, you're right. I saw him at a Ranger game once, and he said he actually recognized me and I'm like, hey, that's the guy from Sopranos. He's like, hey, you're from that show. And he was like, he wasn't
Wow,
that
he
big.
lost weight.
Yeah.
You had somebody describe your neck in a certain way, a
Yes.
phrase I've never heard before.
Yes, when I was heavy, they called it a meat scarf.
Isn't that a great?
And that became like a tagline of mine. I think I had a T-shirt. I did a T-shirt that said "nice meat scarf," and
That's a great name. That should be the name of one of your comedy specials.
Yes.
Meat Scar.
But I got to tell you,
I've never heard that combination of words.
Isn't that a great- I never heard it either.
I love wordplay.
now your act is not stealable because it's true to you.
oh,
And you get away with stuff on
You
stage.
could steal it. You could steal
No,
it.
you can't, because he's talking about his father. He's talking about his real life, his wife. You talk. You don't. You
Yeah.
open up to the audience. I mean, you talk
Right.
about having anxiety,
yeah.
and it's so real and it's funny. But you take it and you make it funny. I love how you
What
talk about.
Bales is trying to say is you really should go see Chris Roach if and when you ever can. If you see his name, search him out. Look on the internet that destroyed his last career, selling dildos to little old ladies that finally started recognizing him, and he saw daylight and got out of there. A little ad for you.
Thank you.
So
Did you
how?
ever hear a place called Zanies in Chicago,
Yes.
on Wells Street, the little one?
Haven't done it, but yes.
That was a whorehouse.
Really?
That was a whorehouse, and the owner used to have to jump out the window in the back. It was a single storefront. I've told this on the air before.
Okay.
And so he gave up and made it into an adult bookstore, but people were still going in the back and bringing girls, so he was jumping out the window. So he made it into Zany's Comedy Club, and it was so great because when you worked the room, you stayed upstairs, and the upstairs of Zany's, all the walls are red velvet. I
Oh
mean,
my
you are in a
God.
whorehouse when you were staying there.
That is
So I
great.
thought that kind of segues into your.
Yes, that's great. I love history like that. You know, it was a great club. Had so much history that closed not too long ago. Was Casbah in Wildwood. You ever do that?
Never did that.
I never heard of that.
What
that
was the
was-
great history?
That was just it started out and opened in the 50s, and it was like first it was like a what do you call it, like a transvestite follies kind of thing.
What part of Jersey? What neighborhood?
Wildwood.
Wildwood.
Okay.
Wildwood. It was a great club, and it just when you went.
So
when
you had been there many times
yes,
before.
and when you were in there, you just felt. the
And
history.
now it's coming back. It'd be
yeah,
very in.
very in to do now.
Wow.
How is your wife in supporting your career? She supports you?
Up and down,
Up and down?
up and down. You know when
Challenging?
When it's good, it's good. You know when money's tight, she's a little cranky. You know?
I got a word for that. So it's called marriage.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
It has its ups and downs until
she,
the ups and downs stop.
I know. I remember she was sitting in the audience at one of the tapings, And she said to herself, "Oh my God, this nut job actually did what he said he was going to do and make it, as they say, or get on."
Did she vocalize that to you?
Yes, and I know like sometimes like when I was years after I was doing podcasts and people would say, "So how did it feel when you made it?" I'm like, "Made it? I'm still living at my dad's house in Ronkonkoma."
There's all, you know. But I mean,
different
did she
levels.
actually come up and say, "Oh, you're my meat scarf"?
Something like that. Something like that.
Well,
She
he
li-
married.
I'm never gonna forget. I'm never gonna
She,
forget.
she
that.
liked the paychecks.
That's
He married a hot Latina. Is that fair to say?
Sure.
that is
sure.
actually redundant.
Yes.
Where'd you meet your wife?
At a nightclub called Wall Street in.
Oh, not exact Excalibur, or what the name of the place was.
No, it was Wall Street in Hauppauge. Hauppauge?
Wall Street in a Hauppauge.
Hauppauge, is that it?
I've heard of that place.
It was a happening place at the time.
How long ago?
Wow. Oh, about 20 years ago. And she had this thing where she would always, when she drank, she fell. But she didn't just fall. She would fall like, it looked like the floor came out and she went straight down. And I remember bringing my friend to meet her, and we showed up, and he goes, "Where is she?" I'm like, "There she is." All of a sudden, we see her through the crowd, and she's gone.
From drinking?
Drinking, her knees would get weak when she drank, and straight down. It was like somebody opened a trap door. Gone.
You know, that's something.
That's
That's
funny.
something if that happens. But to be known for that,
Right.
you know, keep your eye out. If you see the girl sink to the floor,
Yeah.
that's my girl.
That's
She
my
is.
girl.
So
That's
she
nice.
is.
Now, you love comedy. I know that. And you like hanging out at the clubs. And you love the
Yes.
comics. And your act is fun and true. This
I
guy.
hear a big butt coming.
I'm
Don't
getting
you?
ready for it.
No,
Yeah,
there's
me
no
too.
but.
I'm getting ready to turn
He
around.
he comes from a family of cops.
All cops.
And you were a police officer for a
Tried.
while.
Me, I tried being a cop for 2 years.
For 2 years.
Not good.
Not good.
I hated
This
it.
is before xenophobia or after?
I went from xenophobia to the NYPD for 2 years, back to expressions or xenophobia, and then started stand-up.
Were you doing his class while you were a cop?
No, I was a cop in 96 to 98. And I think I took Peter's class in 2003 or 2004.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and you got in trouble because you're supposed to report shootings and not
Yes.
just like,
You can't, evidently they had a no firing your gun off in the Hamptons policy I was unaware of. Can't do that.
well, Chris Roach, let me just say to the audience.
Was your wife involved in that shooting?
No.
No, she fell and was out of the range of the.
She,
So you're just out there picking
the gun
off,
came out and she went,
you were
she was
picking off
gone.
seagulls? Or?
Something like that.
Man, we only scratched the surface here. We definitely want to have you back on our show.
Yeah.
Please come back. Now,
I get a vote in that. You could ask me my opinion.
what's your opinion, Jay?
I think we should have Chris Roach back
Oh,
on.
absolutely. Terrific actor, terrific comedian, all around great guy.
Such history.
Such history he has. A graduate. We take credit at Stand Up University for Chris
This is
Roach.
true.
And
You take credit for everything at that dopey college.
I do. We really do. But this is real, man. He came in,
Did you
started
hear
out.
the President Obama? He actually took Bales' comedy course. Didn't he? Isn't that true? Isn't that true?
No, he didn't. But thank you so much, Chris Roach.
Oh, my pleasure. I'd love to come back.
All right. And Jackie the Joke Man Martling sitting right there. I'm Peter Bales. This has been Stand Up Memories, and we will see you next time.
Good job today. Good job, Pete.
Thank you.
I never say that. I never mean it.
First time.